Aloha, you guys. My name is Twinkle Alohalani Borge. The youngest out of 7 of us, actually. Ended up moving down to the Leeward side in 2000, became houseless in 2003. I first actually stayed at White Plains for like about a couple of weeks, and then ended up in Chaos. Grateful for the place, but I hated it, you know, because you was far away from everything. I still had my son with me at that time. So waking up early in the morning, walking him from Chaos to Waʻianae Elementary School was something I had to do every day for 5 days a week. It wasn't easy. While he was in school, I was still waiting at the park for him until he finished school so we could walk back home. During that time, of my life was like a critical time. Um, got into it with my parents, especially with my dad. I was accused of stealing my sister-in-law's wedding ring, and I never. And that's when I was told that, uh, you know, more on home for come home too. Um, Kind of heart wrenching that day to hear one of your parents tell you that. Instead of believing what I went said, it didn't. I ended up going back to Chaos, and that night I was telling God, and I was asking, not telling, but sharing with Him from my heart that, oh, now I no more family. I cannot go here. I'm not welcome at home. The unreal part was the answer He would send back to me. So at that time, no one knew about KL Beach. It was like an out of sight, out of mind kind of place. And I was staying in a van, and I heard this knock on the van. And when I opened my door, my nephew was standing right there, my oldest nephew, Samson. And this ray of sunshine just was shining on him. And I knew that was God's answer to me that I'm still here. Hope is still alive. And as my nephew started coming every day, was kind of building up my hope that I lost. Thinking about the things that my dad would tell me that night, the night before. And to see God's answers to me, sent to me, and He had to use my nephew. Still things at that time was rocky in my life. Like I said, Kiao was a place you could stay, but I hated it because it was so far from everything. Going a little bit down the line, I ended up losing my son because of the choices I would choose. I actually started meeting new people out here. Still full blown into using, and then I found my way to the Waʻianae Boat Harbor. And at that time was only 7 of us, and I couldn't believe the first time that I actually went walking into the village, into the where we located now. That I was 1 minute away from society, but you could get lost within that 1 minute. Being in a place that is surrounded by keawe trees, total serenity I found, and I was actually at peace for the first time since I became houseless. I kind of met a couple people along the way there that was staying there that I was able to help also get into home. This one lady that used to stay there, Her and her husband would actually do recycling every day, and I was kind of stunned because daily she would at least hit them anywhere from $80 to 120 for somebody who was houseless, and she did that 7 days a week. You could put food on the table, yet take care of your dogs, do your kids just with that, you know. And she kind of taught me a lot also, how to recycle, what to do, not to be shamed, and I've done it. I met another lady there also. She actually came from Kauai. She never thought she was gonna be houseless. She ended up being houseless with two other guys that was there. Like I said, it was seven of us, and it was just totally different from what you see today. Um, um, maybe about 5 6 years was just us. Didn't have anybody else until the sweeps started coming. What would get to me wasn't the adults. What would get to me was watching the kids. You know, the choices we make, they pay for it. The decisions we make, they pay for it. And I couldn't see that happening. Um, I was still using, um, not when the kids came, but when only had adults. And every day, my life was like chaos. I mean, if I wasn't arguing with somebody, I was fighting with somebody. And I never realized for 2 weeks, my niece was sitting down in the park watching me. And my two nieces, I raised them from when they was born. You know, I didn't even recognize my niece, but I didn't even know that she had a son. So, like I said, my family that was coming, that I thought I had none, because me and my dad kept fighting and arguing, and he really believed that I stole it. You know, and I know I never. Um, but my nieces and my nephews started coming. That's what was building my hope. One day I was fighting with somebody in a parking lot, and I heard this voice, Twinkie. And I started laughing because only my family called me that. Not realizing my niece is sitting in the park crying. She said, you know, for 2 weeks I sit here and I watch you, and I know you're not recognizing me, and you pass me. She said, and I watch you argue, I watch you fight, and you're just so miserable. I never said anything, but I kept my eyes on her son. I was like, who is this? So my son. So I didn't realize you had another kid. You know, I know you had three girls. I didn't know you had a boy. Something I didn't miss out on. Um, well, this little boy, we kind of saved my life. She told me, you know, I'm gonna be here every day because Kaveh goes to school at 442. So if you wanna come and see me, come outside. We'll be waiting for you. That gave me hope. That actually would stop me from using drugs because I finally had somebody to come out to and be with. You know, this little boy, I don't care what I was going to during that time of my life. Um, he looked at me like I was the most perfect person to him. Today he's 15. I've been clean 15 years. She gave me the opportunity to take care of her son while she go back to work, and she wasn't because she was unsure with me. And I made her one promise that if you let me watch your son, I promise you I'm not gonna do my drugs. You know, I promise you I'm gonna stay clean. Been clean since. Every day, this boy who is 15, he will be 15, but he calls me every day. I love you. Just remember that. That keeps me going, you know. Even when my days can seem hard, I look forward to that call. And he called me usually about every day around 3 o'clock. So he's my reminder of what I do, what because of what I do. Yeah, it was his innocent love that found the innocence in me during the worstest time of my life. You know, For me, when I lost my hope in everything, especially my both parents as ministers. My dad was first to be ordained as a minister while he was being incarcerated. But his approval meant to me more than anything. And it was never there, you know. And um, me, I'm a family orientated kind of person. I found more love on the streets than in my own home. My niece, them understood that. Even when I see the residents today in a village, I see a piece of me in them. Yeah, we've been on different walks, but I've been on many walks. My nephew that actually lives there, he chose to be there. He always can go home to his parents. But like I said, I've raised my sister's kids. Yeah, at a very young age. That when my sister had her first daughter, I was only 10. My life went out the door because I became that nanny. You know, um, giving the hope, even while getting told that you cannot come back home or anything. My hope was my nephew Samson to remind me that God is still there in my life. Yeah, a lot of these guys there. I didn't realize how big the houseless situation was when I first moved out here because I was living in one home. That's nothing that I was looking at or even taking notice of until I became houseless myself. I remember when I first stayed at care house, there was a family of 16. They actually was born, you know, not into a home, but onto the beach. And during that part of my life was kind of chaotic, but they would help me a lot also because I had my son with me. There's many nights where I slept by the bathroom just with my shirt on covering my son. You know, just 2 weeks ago, my son actually came to me and asked me questions that I would be honest with him about. That I wish I never take my eyes on my prize, which was him, but I did because I would trust on relationship. When believe in this relationship, that was only using me. And instead of my eyes stay focused on my son, it didn't. Brought me where I'm at today, you know. Everything that what we're doing today for Puʻuhunua O Waʻianae was basically built not just on faith but hope. This is something that needs to be done. I do work in a village, that's why I have my overseas. Um, I kind of hope to show it to you guys that we do have our meetings every Mondays, yeah. And what I need to go forward, the problems that I hear that is occurring in a village, how to attack it or how to build that relationship because everything starts with a relationship. You gotta have that compassion part, even if even if towards someone that you cannot stand. You know, now I believe He bring people into our life for a reason. Um, my my nephew, I've been banging his head lately. But my thing is, when you say something, you make sure you follow through with your word. Yeah, don't ever change the rules. Don't ever change how things is the organic in what you do. And trust is everything. And we've been getting into mean arguments, because I will fight my point. Kayla, but this is not working. This is what is being said. They cannot tell you this because the reaction they're gonna get from me. So that's something that me and you have to work on. But I do it with the same with the rest of my overseas. With no more communication, with no more consistency, with no more trust, we ain't got anything. And they have to realize that they represent me there while I continue doing my business up here or online. Um, Now an easy task. So my four overseas, my Lynn, she is good in my paperworks. She is good in doing my receipts, bringing things forward, making sure I stay on top of things, especially my information sheet, because we do have information sheet of people wanting to move in. We finally got our own tests that if we do take people in, now we can give them the COVID test to check to make sure that we're safe. Because, like I said, shared with many others, nobody gonna save us. We gotta save ourselves. So even with this pandemic going on, it's crazy. We still gotta be safe. My Moki, awesome. She's learned a lot. She's actually my outreach coordinator. So she does anywhere from the whole Leeward Coast to Wahiwa, working her way around to Bush every week. We provide the food, we provide the canned goods, we provide the lunch, we provide the clothings. All I need her to do is go out there and get me information that we need to create, um, to maybe help create policies, to maybe help create understanding. City and state love them, but they're not understanding. You know, um, my Kalana, he still has work to be done, but he has a good heart. He's usually my head for my elite crew, which they are the one that goes out into the community to go look what needs to be done. If someplace need attention, they will be the ones to go out there and attack it. So I actually got us shirts so they feel a little bit more pride when they're out there representing what we do. My Murray is practically the same way. When I met Murray been houseless, I want to say over 30 years. I always went to him and asked him to come home to us because he has a lot to give to the table and to put on the table. He understands a lot of things. At most relationship Murray was in, he was always the one that was being abused. He wasn't the abuser; he was a victim, and he brings a lot to the table to also to the people in the village that kind of go through that. He can actually sit down with them and counsel them. I always believe that the people that God brought me, He brought me leaders. He didn't bring me followers. And I always believe that He is teaching me how to build relationship with them. That while we can create, because I believe we need more Puʻuhunuas, but as I raise these people up, it's your turn to take care of your village. It's your turn to go out there and get the people and bring them home. Your turn to build relationship. And I believe that's what we're doing here, is building leaders, so we can go out there and be that difference and make that difference. Not just Puʻuhunua O Waʻianae, but for the whole Lahui. We had a meeting one time. It was sort of about a meeting that they was having at the high school, and it was a private meeting actually. And one of the ladies that lived with us, the high school never knew, or was a custodian there. And she came home and told us, and we ended up walking into this meeting that had all these representatives there. But it was missing a point, we wasn't there. And while Uncle Ilo was sharing, he kind of turned to me and he said, "We'll give you 6 months to straighten up this thing and do what you gotta do and meet our requests, or we'll sweep you guys." That was the first time we got threatened with the sweep, and I said, "Okay." So I actually invited them. The ladies that did come with me to the meetings at the high school, I sent them to the bushes and I said, "You tell everybody we have a mandatory meeting, 8 o'clock. They need to be there. Like if they're not there, I'm not giving two hoots. I will kick you right out." And that's when we started putting things into order. And they brought this bulletin, and on top of this bulletin board was a camera shot of people on their property, 24 hours, claiming that they actually live in our village. It showed one person from our village from all the shots they had, and she was at the rubbish can picking up recyclables. And they was embarrassed because the rest of the people, we could actually name them and tell you where they lived, which was across the street. So we was getting blamed for things that we wasn't doing. I ended up holding one huge meeting, and they was kind of surprised because everybody came out. City North State expected that. I also invited HCAP to come out also because at that time HCAP would help us a lot. They was doing bringing awareness for us about diabetes, about if you want to quit. They was bringing that kind of things to our table. Where can we get our mail sent? So they ended up joining us in our meeting, and while we was having this meeting, and I started bringing it forward to the people, and that's when I started laying the law down, started laying the rules down. Like if I ever catch you guys stealing, especially from the high school, no hesitation, you're out. There was one time where the school got robbed, over 78 brand new iPads. We got blamed. One of the guys from CRUs came. I said, Hawaii, yeah, I know where everything's there. Ah, I said, I just send you on lead. I said, but if you like, go follow me. I said, I'll go retrieve them. And they started laughing, you know. It was actually right across the street of us, 2 houses up. So I knocked on the door. So I told the CRU guys, don't mind what you see, yeah? He was kind of confused. So as they was unlocking the door, I kicked the door open. So I grabbed the person. I said, what are tablets? Give me the tablets. I said, we're being accused for something we never do. And that guy went and handed me the box. And he was flipping. He couldn't believe that I actually went and get back what was stolen from the high school. So today I'm glad that we have a relationship with them, because whenever something goes wrong, they'll immediately send me one picture, and then I'll come down there and I know exactly who this person is. You can come with me, we'll go to the house right now. So I'm glad that we have that relationship built, you know, because whenever something is stolen, it's always blamed on a houseless. We're kind of unique. We have rules, you know. Everybody think when you're houseless, you're chronic. No. Some people lost their place because the main person who paid the bills passed away. What can you do? How can they get help? Well, they stay with us until we can get them help, the correct help they need. Um, about for 2 years, I had people coming from the mainland to stay with us, and one he was like, oh, he was kind of obsessed. Like he had every picture of me in his phone. He's like, yeah, look, I have this of you, and I said, oh, this is creepy, you know. And he was from the mainland. I sent him back. Like, you gotta go. Like, I don't know why you came here. I wanted to be closer to you. That was kind of like, what the hell is going on? You know, but we had to, we was that different. We brought it up to the neighborhood board to let the community know what was going on. And even when we first had, when the governor, when mentioned that they wanted to do a sweep, and we had all these support came in. So when we finally started talking about the land, again, we brought them up in a neighborhood board meeting. And I couldn't believe how many people was against it. It came from this community. We have supporters here, but they stayed silent because of fear. But to stand in front of one crowd for 3 hours, to have them just bash you, I had to stand there and smile. Because in my head, I was telling myself, I will catch you on the street, I'm going to thirst you. You know? Like, I can take that from you or anybody, but I had to stand there for 3 hours and listen to people degrade us and put us down. And I had to come. Being the leader, um, doing what we're doing, taught me what was anxieties. I never had that. I get many sleepless nights. I worry. I can't wait for the people to come home. My overseas in a village, I'm very adamant. I'm very on it with them. It wasn't one easy choice for me to make to move here, because I wanted to be the last man here. But there was problems occurring up here on Mocha that needed to be dealt with. Yeah, not just the people who I had on top here, but with also community. So we needed order in this house. I try to have actually my nephew and my daughter to come here, but I think they was more afraid of taking that step of coming home here, you know, for bringing that order so I can continue working in a village. We making things happen. Tell me what houseless community can raise that money to buy this land that we're sitting on today. Amazing. But I believe should have more Puʻuhunuas in each city and not in just one. You know, so we can help the people heal. Um, they talk about affordable housing and everything. Well, I think this is our way of showing them what is affordable and bringing the people home. That's step one before you can get into the grand prize, to the regular home, you know, to a home that they're going to choose. The process for here wasn't easy. It took us like 2, 3 years, you know. Um, Going out there, um, hoping that people believe in you, hoping that they're going to fund you. You know, we didn't depend on a state, nor did we depend on city. Just the little faith we had in us. You know, it was nice to give an announcement at our Black Tie Slipper event that we actually raised the money, and everybody was stunned because I was stunned myself. I found out that night that everybody can actually just enjoy, eat dinner, and just get to know the people. Break that stereotype because we raised the money. Being here on Monka makes a lot of things come true. The person that had this place, and let me tell you what, prior before that, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, every time when I used to pass here, I used to either be with Pakele or even Kioki. I said, Kioki, yeah. I said, this is the place that we're gonna get. And he was like, I believe you, mama. Well, years later, we got it. This is the place. That person that went own this place doesn't he doesn't even know what a diamond he has here. Like he didn't keep up on this place. Everything you see here we did by hand. All the Opala you see over there that was left by him. I mean we still get cars that he even buried that we have to dig up. Most of that we did by hands. So all that Opala you see there from the top when you're coming in all the way to here, and we had stolen vehicles up here that we had towed away. I had to also stop community from doing that because community was bringing the cars in, stripping them down, and we're standing there watching them. I'm like, who the hell these guys think they are? You know, I had to scold them. But we ended up cleaning everything, putting them here. My goal, what I cannot wait for, bringing our people home. I miss hearing noise. I miss hearing my kids screaming. I miss hearing them say, Mama, can I come in? Of course. You know, I miss hearing all of that. Um, a lot of people cannot believe how far we came. Sometimes I gotta pinch myself, you know, because we're here. We're actually going to be able to not just feed our people, but community also. We still gotta build relationship with them, but welcome to our home, you know. Um, I just had one Kupuna group came in the other day, and it was nice talking with them. One thing you always see in town is like gardens, you know, for the community for do the gardens. And I want to be able to create that here so that people outside there that doesn't have a yard or what come in and create your garden. We got that. Um, how can we make more of this possible out there? You know, they have the land. Let us do something with it. I mean, it's huge, the Kuliana. It's really huge. I had to come home because my dad's house is up this side, up in a homestead, weekly to look at this sign that said, Stop Twinkle from bringing shanty down here. My family had to look at that. Wasn't easy. My nephews and my brothers felt some type of way that they felt my life was in danger. And I told them, don't worry, I got this. But my nephew them did. I watched these guys bring Shanty Town to them, this town themselves. I watched them bring the abandoned cars and we get blamed. I've watched people's area get robbed and we get blamed. And it's not even us, it's their neighbors. I think we gotta continue building relationship, you know, but we gotta be consistent also. You cannot say something and you do another thing. You gotta be consistent. I'm very, very on it with that part. Yeah. Even like with our community here, like I love them. You know, I pity the kids. We had a back to school drive here, and this for the first time I didn't hold it down at the village. I held it here. And what they had to do was pass my securities from the top. My securities will give them information. They are to drive in, not come out. By the time they come to us, we already know the counts of how many kids get. We invited the community to come in. Uh, it was beautiful to see their kids walking in to get their school supplies, you know, to get that help that they needed. And I always let the kids know in this area that ever you need anything else, you let me know. I'll help. The only thing we have to do is continue building the relationship because of this gate is a gate that they will still not allow us to use. They don't want our people driving in and out of this area, so everybody got to come in through the Waianae way. Like, I can't wait till that relationship is built because they should be able to use this road also. That's just how I feel. If ever an emergency happened there, they would have no choice but to use our place. You know? Because when you come in on Piliuka, it's a one way in, one way out. So if ever have a fire and it started in the beginning, well, you will have to use this street to get out, to go back out onto the main road. They're not even thinking about that. Like, not easy, to even still being told what we can and cannot do on our own land by the community. Like, what the hell? So I know that's still relationships that we gotta build on and maintain we consistent. I hope people wake up, open up their eyes besides their heart. We lost Aloha along the way somehow. I remember growing up as a little girl, you could go to anybody's house and eat. You could go to anybody's house, sit down and talk story, and it's no longer like that. We're kind of missing that Aloha spirit here. I sure hope they can see that and feel that in our village, because even when we get guests come through, if somebody's cooking, somebody will always say, "You hungry? You want to eat something?" That's just like up here. Bringing that aloha back, very important. Basically love, yeah. Break all barriers. Yeah. Even bringing our people up here for Christmas. We had our first event up here Christmas time. The village, they could not believe, that people started walking all over the place, and I would love seeing that. Because they can finally understand that the land they're standing on is theirs. I hope it brings them that much bigger hopes that we're going to have forever home. They're going to have one forever home. I hope others out there understand, break that stereotype, bring that aloha back in, and let's start connecting the dots and making it happen. Only easy. Doesn't have to be exactly like ours. Make it the way you want it to be. But let's get out there and work together. That's what I'm hoping.
He mauna, he ahu, he ki'i, he kanaka, anaka